All right. Well, Colby Covington he does deserve a lot of credit for his performance because as much as Tyron didn't do very well, a lot of that was thanks to Colby's amazing work. Colby, like honestly, as much everyone hates him, or not everyone, but many people hate him, and he's an easy guy to hate. But at the end of the day, you got to respect the talent. This guy is a beast. He is the only one who's put up a competitive fight with Usman. Out of every single person Usman has fought, he's the only one who I can actually see going 5 rounds and staying cardio-wise with Usman.
Oh my God, his cardio is insane.
And nobody has put it on him, other than that one loss he had earlier in his career. I forget to who it was. But other than the Usman loss and the other loss earlier on, he's just been dominant. And I can very much see him. He might need one more fight because we do have that Gilbert fight coming up. But I think he's right on the track for a title shot. And by the way, Dana was asked at the post-fight presser, and they said, "What's going on with the Nate versus Nate Jorge 2, the BMF 2 fight?" He says, "We don't know where we're at with that." They asked, "What do you think about Covington versus Jorge?" He says, "Yeah, I like that fight. I think that would be a really good fight to do." So I think if we can get Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, it'll make all the fans happy. There's amazing backstory. These are guys that used to live together. Colby used to train together, but he lived in Jorge's house. Jorge brought him up through the rankings, and then he feels betrayed by Colby. You have this horrible grudge match. And of course, everyone's been complaining that Jorge hasn't gotten, Noah, you've been part of this, but so have I. Jorge's not been getting real fights. He's been getting very favorable big name matchups that are maybe over the hill, like Nate Diaz. And this is the chance where he can actually really prove himself. If he beats Colby Covington, I am all aboard the Jorge Masvidal's hype train. Absolutely.
It's difficult for me to see him beating Colby because, I mean, just because of how easily I would say I would compare Colby with, say, Usman, especially in their fight together. You know, just their similar skill sets and how they really took it to each other versus how easily Usman was able to dispatch of Masvidal. I don't know if Masvidal has very much for Covington. I think Covington would win that fight pretty handily.
Adam, what do you think of that fight?
I think I would edge slightly more towards Covington just because of his cardio and the amount, like the volume of punches he throws compared to Jorge's sort of like blitzes, where he can kind of burn his gas tank a little bit more easily. It's definitely a fight I would like to see. Like it makes sense, you know. Jorge, although the fight was pretty one-sided when he fought Usman, it'd be a good fight to see who should fight for the title next. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. For sure.
The one thing I will say that is different between Colby and Usman is that Usman's a lot more of a physical fighter. He uses his physicality more, his weight, his strength, whereas Colby is, in fact, you see Colby throws a lot more strikes on the feet. Usman will lean on you a lot more and use that physicality, as I was saying. And I think that's what really did it for Jorge, where he felt like he was maybe not in the greatest shape as he could have been, especially with a tougher weight cut than he was used to. And he feels like he just couldn't keep up with that physicality of such a bigger guy, and Colby doesn't have that as much. So I think that does play in Jorge's favor. In terms of just like, I definitely favor him over Covington a lot more than I favor him over Usman. That's not even a comparison between Covington and Usman. It's just about the style of matchup. I think it's much more favorable for Jorge to fight Covington. However, I still would definitely lean Colby. I think Colby, I think while Tyron has that real dog in him, and he has that, he can knock you out at a second. He can really just attack and take over. I do still think Covington is tough enough, as he proved in that Usman fight, to hang with Jorge for the beginning, kind of grind him out and do what he's been doing to everybody else, and just overwhelm him with the striking and with the volume, and of course the wrestling as well. Just that work rate, that constant work rate.
Yeah.
I think most of what Masvidal would have going for him there is, I think that Masvidal could KO Covington. I don't think that Covington could KO Masvidal.
He could
TKO. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
He could, but it would be I think it would be more of a challenge. I think that Covington would have to fight you'd have to fight very smart defensively while being mindful of that his pressure is his greatest weapon.
I'm curious
I'm
curious
interested
if
in
they go
that
to the
fight.
ground.
No question. That's very, very interesting fight.
I'm curious if they go to the ground because Covington, of course, I think a really safe thing for him to do would be taking down Masvidal and grinding him out and tiring him out and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But Masvidal is not a slouch on the ground. Masvidal is a good BJJ player.
And excellent takedown defense.
Excellent takedown defense
then again, I mean, look at the ease with which Covington was able to take down Woodley, who has, his own.
It wasn't ease.
Ridiculous.
It wasn't ease. It was that first round.
He dumped him.
No. The first takedown he got was because Tyron overextended himself on that right hand, and he was leaning way too far forward. He was out of position. It was just perfectly timed. But later on, when he got that big, I don't know if you remember that high crotch takedown where he picked him up. It was the third or fourth round. Yeah. That took him in 3 or 4 rounds to get it. He had to get Tyron kind of tired. He had to get that advantage more on his side, and then he was able to do it. And I think the same thing would happen with Jorge. The first few rounds would be competitive, and the later it gets, the more it favors Colby.
Yeah, that's a given. I mean, even just looking back at Masvidal versus Nate Diaz, it was very clear that Masvidal's gas tank starts to run out in those championship rounds.
I still disagree with that point, but I think we've been over that a few times now, so don't need to go too much on that. Anything else to say about this? I mean, again, I think we all say Covington should fight Jorge possibly next, maybe Leon Edwards. Other than that,
great fight. I kind of want to talk a little shit. I don't know if you want to wait till later to do that.
No, go for it. You talk your shit. Let me hear it.
All right, so Covington, I mean, it's not new that he makes an ass of himself whenever he talks. It sounds like he's very obviously reading off a script. He's like stuttering along, just like trying to remember his lines. But like, goddamn, he really makes himself sound like such a fucking loser. Okay, you know what? Actually, I had a thought also with first off, I can't imagine what he would do if he got out of like a boring fight. Like if he just wrestle fucked someone for a fight and it was just like a unanimously boring performance. I would love to see him get up to the mic and still talk his shit.
He will. Absolutely would.
He absolutely will, but it will sound
Robbie
even
Lawler
more
was that fight.
Stupid and disingenuous.
No, but Robbie Lawler was that fight. Hell, this fight was that fight. This fight was that fight. It was kind of boring in that sense.
He kept it exciting. He kept it exciting in this fight. I wasn't as bored as I've been, during some other low activity fights. Okay. At least someone was
wasn't boring, but it was that style is what I meant.
Yeah, sure. But God, okay. So after the fight, he was talking with Usman, and they were on camera together, talking. Yeah. There's a certain point when they were speaking where Covington just started screaming and yelling and acting like a child. I think he was really bothered because Usman kept saying like, I broke your face. Which is a fact.
Your face,
I mean,
dude.
Covington was sitting there talking like some dumb shit. First off, he said something along the lines of Usman getting smoke signals from his tribe.
Yeah,
I don't really need to say anything about that. I think we can all see where he's getting at. He kept calling Tyron woke too, and like going over it. It's like, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of little messages that Covington's putting out, and you'd have to be kind of a moron not to see that. But I'll say that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and I think he knows how to edge the line, and I think he crosses it a little bit much. But I think what he's trying to do is be on that line as close to it as he possibly can be, and trigger as many people as he possibly can to get them to watch him. And it works.
I just think if
he's selling his soul,
he's gonna push, and he's gonna push. And I think that if he could say the thing that I think he really wants to say without repercussions, he would.
Here's the thing. I was actually just thinking, I
don't care for him.
I think it's an interesting comparison between him and Henry Cejudo, because they both are guys that everyone knows it's an act, and they acknowledge essentially it's an act. Everyone knows they're trying to get people to get annoyed at them and trying to get people to hate them, but the way that they approach it is a bit different. Let's start with Cejudo. Cejudo does it a lot more. I'm going to be cringy. I'm going to start calling you guys names and doing all this stuff and just making sure people hear me and keep on talking about me. But when he did once or twice, he has crossed the line. He took it back. So he once called Aljamain Sterling, he called him Al Jemima Sterling or something along those lines. And Karen Bryan called him out and said, that's racist. You cannot say that. And he took the tweet down and hasn't done it again. I don't know if he actually formally apologized, but he changed his behavior immediately. Colby, if he does something like that, he says, "Oh, everyone's getting pissed at me. Perfect. I've done my job."
It's fueling the fire.
Mm-hmm. There's no real great way to go into some of his comments without going into topics that are just really none of our business to be talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sure.
Just wish it wasn't controversial to say, yeah, Colby Covington's a racist. And at the very least, he's playing the part of a racist and trying to appeal to racists.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is.
He's playing the race card,
that.
that's for sure. He's absolutely.
Just, you know.
In this climate, especially, it's not.
Yeah, that's real. You know, I think there's something to be said for, I mean, look at Leon Edwards. He is an incredible fighter. He arguably should have a title shot very clearly in front of him. Dana doesn't want to touch that guy with a 50-foot pole.
No, that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore. Dana's been actually talking really good things. He says that he has a great future. He's going to make some really good fights.
Because the people are asking, people are realizing how ridiculous it is, especially in light of all these fighters really pressing and criticizing the UFC. But, like, you know, Dana's made it clear that if you're not willing to market yourself, he's, you know, unless you're really something special, he's not going to market, you know, for you. So Covington, on one hand, you know, I don't know if you guys have seen the video. There's a video of a fan coming up and getting his autograph and someone filming it and asks him, yeah, why do you do it? And he's like, listen, it is what it is. You've got to sell these fights. You have to do what you have to do in this world. Granted, you know, he's stoking legitimate real life political flames and race tension, which is
the difference between him and Cejudo, right? So Cejudo is, I think Cejudo, you can say the exact same thing. Hey, why are you doing that? And then he says something along the lines of, well, like, because people don't want to see this, people want to see the other character, and go ahead and do it. But the difference that Cejudo isn't actually causing real problems, isn't pushing buttons that are literally costing lives today.
Yeah.
The small point I wanted to add about Covington during, like, his interviews and his press conferences is, like, he has a couple of seconds, like every like 5 or 10 minutes or so, where he just lets out like a little bit of authenticity. That's just, it's so bizarre to see. And like, to give an example, the president called him and, like, they showed it in an interview, like Trump was speaking to him saying, like, wow, you're a great fighter, like, phenomenal fight. And was wishing him well, and, like, he hung up the call and the interview was still on, and he was just like Kobe's face just lit up like a kid in a candy store, and he was like, wow, like, I can't believe that just happened, like, that was insane. And it's strange to see, like, that little bit of authenticity in such a big act.
You can't hold the character forever.
Do you guys think when he started yelling at Usman that was authentic Colby? He was genuinely angry, or do you think
it's a bit of both?
Yeah, a bit of both. I would agree.
I'm inclined to agree.
So what I found interesting is that, because, like, he's clearly, it seems like it really bugs him that he lost. I think the competitiveness, the competitor in him is real. And he really feels like he needed to beat him, but he was saying, oh, I'm really coming this time. And it was like, you said that the last time. He's like, oh, well, this time I'm really coming to get you. And, like, he kept on saying, oh, dude, I broke your face. He was saying things. He started trying to change the story. He's like, yeah, I was beating you up for 5 rounds. And Usman's looking around like, what? You guys hear?
Usman, only Covington could make Usman look like a good trash talker. All he had to do is spit the facts. I broke your face.
And he just kept on saying it. Dude, I broke, like, what are you saying right now? I broke your face, dude.
Still calling out, like, fake eye pokes and, like, he's just, you know what? I think, to make a long story short on Colby, even though I could go more into it than this, he might not be all the things that he presents himself to the world as, but I am certain that he is an asshole.